Hi, we are back on the SilverFox Hustle Podcast. This is the latest episode, by the way. And like every week, I will say this at the end of this podcast. Please click on the follow or subscribe button. We are everywhere on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, Google, and we are on YouTube as well. So subscribe to that, the SilverFox Hustle Podcast. And also share this with your friends because if they do want to listen to all my great guests on the show. I do have one great guest on the show, by the way, today. So just share this with your friends. It's all about the hustle. It's all about the hard work. And if you do need a little bit of inspiration, this is the podcast to go to. Now, by the way, for the very first time in a very long while, I have my latest guest on the show via Zoom. Not because she doesn't want to be here with me, because she's way across 12-hour difference, as we speak, and it's she's like going to bed soon, right? So thank you for being here, by the way. Now, she is Singapore's first women fencer to win an Olympic sport through a qualifying event, and she qualified by winning the fall event in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. She is also a SEA Games multiple gold medalist. Now, this left-handed fencer was also the first Singaporean fencer to win a Junior World Cup title in Cuba in 2017. She was also ranked world number 1 in the women's foil event in 2019. She loves competition and once said, "I'd do anything to win, even break an ankle." Now, I will speak to her about that and see whether that's true. Now, not many people also know that she started out playing football, the beautiful game. She is currently juggling competition, training, and school at the University of Notre Dame. Welcome to the SilverFox Hustle Podcast, Miss Amita Berthier.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
It's really a pleasure, and that was a long list at the beginning there. And you're a great competitor. Now, before we start, I've got to ask you, right? How has it been so far? I think you didn't have much time after winning that event in Tashkent, and then you had to fly off quickly to Uzbekistan. Back to the US for your studies. How has that been?
So it's pretty good. I think I've managed to finally settle down. The week after I won was pretty hectic in terms of like school and like also with all the interviews and kind of just like soaking in the fact that I just qualified for the Olympics. But this past week has been relatively calm and just been able to like focus on school, take a little break from fencing, and yeah, been feeling good.
Yeah, and you spoke about the interviews and stuff. So this is your 100th or the 1000th interview, or not interview, the conversation that you had over this the past few weeks. Which one?
Probably, yeah. Maybe not that high, but close.
Right. And you spoke about going back for studies and stuff like that. How has it been? It's like really a roller coaster, right? From the highs of qualifying for the Olympics, and then you got to go back and start studying. Is exams around the corner or something like that?
Yeah, this next week's actually finals week. So Tuesday will be like our last day of classes, and then till like the 20th will be all our exams. So it's pretty hectic week.
Right.
Pretty stressful academically, but it'll be okay.
Good luck for that. And I think you do well.
Thank
because
you.
I feel that you thrive on pressure, like all great athletes do, right? You're laughing. I don't know whether you agree with me or not, but okay, Amita, let's start at the beginning, right? Now, the makings of a champion and what have you. What were you like as a child growing up? Were you always into sports, growing up when you were 2-3 years old, or were you, not the sporty kind at all?
Yeah, I think definitely from a young age I was very sporty. I started with gymnastics for a while, maybe like 1 or 2 years when I was very young. And then I moved to play football back home for JSSL. And my dad and mom were very involved in sports too. Like my dad played competitive judo and my mom track and field. So I think that naturally got my sister and I like very involved in sports. And also I just like was just a more sporty girl compared to like artistic or like musically inclined. But yeah, I don't know. And then when I started fencing, I just kind of like fell in love with it and stuck to it.
Nice. And you said soccer there. You got into that US thingy, right? Soccer.
Yeah, I forgot. I was like, it's called football back home. That's my fault. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I understand. Now, it's quite clear because you talk about the competitive spirit and where you got that competitive thing going on. It is pretty clear, right? Because that's how you grew up in terms of your upbringing. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And do you get into fights and quarrels often with your sister, especially you got a younger sister, older sister?
So I have an older brother
Yeah,
and two older sisters. I'm the
right.
youngest in the family, but my second older sister was the only one, or the only other one that fenced with me,
Ah,
and
okay.
she's only like 2 years older than me. So we
Right.
definitely were like very competitive with each
Mm.
other for a while.
Yeah, you get
Yeah,
kick lumps out of each other, right? I'm sure.
definitely. On the strip, off the strip, we were like siblings and still loved each other very much.
Who wins usually?
It was tricky. I think it was like 50-50 when I fenced her. My sister was very, very good too. And
Yeah.
I hated fencing her. I hated having to like fence on the strip. So when she retired, it was like a relief for me because I didn't want to fence anymore.
Why didn't she like carry on? Like did she try carry
She
on?
just wanted to focus on different aspects of her
Right,
life, like academically. She's in law school right now at NUS, and she's
right.
just focusing on a different career in her life. So
Right,
yeah.
nice. How about schools? Which schools did you attend?
For fencing, oh, for high school, for
Yeah,
academic,
yeah.
so I went to Raffles Girls Primary School, and then I went to Singapore Sports School for a while,
Hmm.
and then like my last year of high school, I did kind of like a online school type of thing with one of the high schools in
Yeah.
Boston, and then after that, University of Notre Dame.
How was the sports school? Did I'm sure they had fencing there, right? And
Yeah,
how was it?
so sports school was definitely a great step for like my career because it was really good academically, but also at the same time like they were very, very helpful in terms of when I traveled, like they would come back and create like one-on-one sessions with like my teachers back home. So they were very helpful in terms of if I were to miss school, they were like not to worry and I'll be able to catch up. So definitely for me at least like the best high school that I could have gone to back
Nice,
home.
nice. And it's called the sports school, by the way, right? So
Yeah.
they've got to really support the kids and the athletes, student athletes rather there, and it's a great place actually. Let's talk a little bit about soccer or football, right?
Yes.
Not many people now. Of course, when people start reading about you and do their research, right? They know that you started out playing football like very young, and you were at the JSSL Academy,
Yeah,
right?
this is our Arsenal.
How
Yeah, my dad
how
was a
was
huge Arsenal fan.
by the way, I am too, right? I am.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, you can.
Everybody like hates on me these days because Arsenal isn't doing too well.
Let's just say, right? It's
That's
not a good time to be supporting Arsenal, right? And and you can see Thierry Henry at the back on my in the background. One of the best
oh
players. Yeah. and, and
yeah, I
and
do.
right. Anyway, how was football for you? Were you good at it?
I say my sister and I were relatively good. We were the only two girls in the all boys team. So
Ah,
I was midfielder and she was defender.
okay.
And I mean, I think generally because of how competitive we were, like even though it was kind of just like a recreational, like outside, like on time, on target type of thing,
Mm,
there were like competitions weekly. So
yeah.
my dad and mom, like I said, also very competitive. So they definitely like when we got home and if we lost a game, like we would sit down and be like, okay, like where did we go wrong? And we were only like 5 or 6 years old. I can't even remember. So I don't know. I really love football. I mean, if I sometimes like down here in school we can play games, and the first sport I always suggest is football or like soccer as
Wow,
they will call it here. So I
great.
miss it a lot. I miss it a lot back home, but
Uh,
it's
nice.
time.
So you must be pretty good at it. And this is where I got that quote from, it about the breaking the ankle thing. And you used to like want to prove that you're better than the boys. Is that right?
So there was a very funny story when I was younger. I prevented a goal I scored. I can't really remember because it was many years ago. And this the guy on the opposing team was very unhappy. He like pulled down my shorts in the middle of the field, and I like was super upset. So I like cried, but that like fueled my anger. So the next game and every other game ever since, like if I always competed against him or whoever, like any guy in general, I'll be like, I'm gonna beat them because like just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I can't play better than them or like whatever. I guess that fueled my anger a little
Yeah.
bit and competitiveness.
Yeah, and I think that alone, right, speaks volumes because if especially for a girl, a small girl like that being, somebody pulls the shots down, you probably quit football for the rest of their
I
life.
really shouldn't know my privacy.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell you what, I have a daughter. She's like 6 years old. I sent her to a football academy, and I will tell her this: if somebody happens to do that, I will tell her to kick him right there and then. No, no, seriously, that's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
you should.
Yeah.
As she should. Yeah.
uh, you stumbled upon fencing. right? Is that the correct word? That you just happened to be
Yeah,
there by
I
chance?
really did. It
Yeah.
was it was during one of like the school holidays, and I was still playing soccer back then, and I was going to Raffles Girls, and I think soccer wasn't counted as a CCA
Yeah.
in for Raffles Girls, so I had to look for another sport, and we were just walking in United Square, like in a shopping mall, and
Mm,
that's when they had Z fencing back then. They don't have it anymore, and the glass, like the club was kind of like it wasn't glass, so when you walk outside, you can see everything that was happening. And you saw
nice.
these little kids like play with like blades and stuff. It was super cool. My parents like signed us up for like the 1 week school holiday like course, and
Yeah.
then ever since we just like went 3 times a week and became like super competitive.
Wow. So you never really look back since, right? It's like that was the start. What how
Um,
old were you?
ever since then, I just like I was 7 or 8. No, I think 7. Yeah, my sister
Seven.
was 8.
Okay, okay. Now at that time, right? Did you ever had an inkling to what you might achieve in the future? Like just maybe after a year or so doing fencing, and did you ever think that, hey, I'm pretty good at this, and I could take this, further?
I think when I was younger, I never really thought of like, Olympics or anything. But I think once I started getting more and more competitive, I was like, hey, like I kind of like the feeling of like winning. And then even if I lost, like I always reflect and be like, why did I lose? Like I only want to win. Like that was kind of my mentality. And then I was introduced to all these Olympians that came to like my club. So Nam Hyun Hee, one of like my biggest like inspirations of all time, like Olympic
Yeah.
silver medalist. She's Korean. Her feet, like everything about her, like I just was in awe of her fencing. And then my coach a few years ago was also like Olympic silver medalist from
Mm.
Germany. And I think I was just like being in the environment where like people are so successful. I was like, I kind of want to feel like what it's to be like as successful as them, or like reach, and like achieve like these goals and stuff that they have achieved too. So I think that kind of like pushed me to want to just like be the best version of myself.
At that time, like were your coaches at Z Fencing, were any of your coaches, or did anyone of your coaches tell you or tell your parents that you're pretty special, or you could make it big, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think definitely from a young age, they told my parents that my sister and I were pretty talented, and but like talent only brings you to a certain stage. You obviously got to put in the work for that, and I think hearing that obviously motivates anybody in general. And once I started seeing results, I started believing in myself more, and just kept wanting to compete and to achieve great things.
Yeah, I like what you said there just now, about talent won't get you anywhere, right? It's after that what you do with that talent, and it's great. And I also get this thing, right, from what you said at the beginning about you go for training, and you come back and you start thinking about what you've done right and right. You are pretty mature in that way. Not many kids at that age, right, would do that. Like they just want to go out there and have fun, right? And at that early age, you go home and you start thinking about, like, why did I it's amazing, really, at that age, and that speaks really volumes about how you've grown, and the maturity that you've shown, and that's brilliant. Now we go on
Thank
a
you.
little bit about fencing, right? Because seriously, Amita, I'm a dummy when it comes to fencing. And a lot of people are, and I heard one of your interviews, and you were saying, a lot of people think that fencing is just standing and just doing that, the actions that you do. It's just that,
Yeah,
right? there's
poking
there's no
people. Yeah.
yeah, it's so easy, anybody can do that. Let me tell you, not anyone, those listening in and watching this, not anyone can do that, trust me. All right, now let's talk a little bit about the sport itself. Firstly, the events, right? There's the epi, the foil, and the saber, right? So
Yeah.
what are the differences?
So the difference is you have like different target areas. So for foil, which is my weapon, the target area is your torso, excluding your arms.
Right.
And then for epee, it's the entire body. So from head to toe, including your
Okay.
arms, like you can hit anywhere. And then for saber, it's torso also, including your head and
Right.
including your arms. And instead of poking, you whack.
You
So for
whack.
foil and epee, you poke, but for saber, you like whack your opponent. There's no
Right.
like poking involved.
Okay. So which
Yeah,
so that sounds a little bit more violent than the other
definitely
two.
a bit more aggressive, but it's
Yeah.
very fun to watch.
Right. Right. And it's also a little bit shorter, right? The duration, the saber.
Yeah, it's much faster because you don't really have like, I mean, it's not poking, so like you don't
Yeah.
really like spend more time to try to like hit your opponent. I don't know if I'm phrasing this the right way, but like basically it's like when the referee says go, it's like they
Ah,
try to be as fast as they can to like reach the opponent before the other person
nice.
does.
Right. Right.
So it's like a
And
different every like weapon has different sort of stamina that you need.
Right. So the different kinds of events need different kinds of skill sets, right? I'm sure. And
For sure, yeah.
and how about you? Why the foil event? Like did you choose it, or did your coach say, okay, you might be better at this?
I think just because like I started with foil, so I really liked it, so I didn't really want to change. I tried fencing epee and saber for a while, and saber like definitely caught my interest for a little bit, but it was a bit too late. And also I just like loved foil more, but
Right.
I don't know. I like how like we have to think about every single step. Like my coach in Notre Dame always says like fencing is like physical checkers, and I think like foil definitely like represents. Hi, can
Yeah.
you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. Now I can.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
But yeah, for foil, I think it requires definitely a lot of patience and just
Mm.
like preparing your actions and just being very calm in like 14 situations, or like very like intimidating or like peer pressure situations. I mean, it's the same for any weapon, but I don't know. That's just how I feel about my weapon personally.
See, I picked that up again. You are like a thinking soldier. You like sports or whatever that requires this up there, the gray matter. Like you have to think about strategy. You like to think about, how do you, adjust your body and stuff like that, right? So you are a strategist.
I guess. Yeah.
Okay, physically, right? What do you need for fencing, especially for your event, physically?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a ton of physical
Mm.
stamina, but also like up here, like mentally. I would say it's at least like it's 50-50, if not more mental than
Mm.
physical, because like with fencing you're put in such like different situations where like you kind of expect the unexpected. You don't know what your opponent's gonna do, so you
Yeah,
kind of have to think on the spot,
yeah.
and you have to like use all the skills that you've been like training and working for, and under like very like scary situations, like you don't know like what you're gonna do, and that's how like mental like strength comes in, and like
Mm.
psychology and everything plays a huge role, because you got to prepare yourself for these unexpected situations.
Yeah. Again, for all fencing dummies, like including myself, you wouldn't think that there's so much to think about, like to actually do all that and to win your medals and stuff. So that's a great eye opener as well. Tell me about the kind of training that you go through. And again, I always do my research, right? And I was watching one of your interviews with John Young, if you can remember,
No.
and and I almost died while watching that, right? Like the movements, the leg movements and stuff like that. What kind of training do you go through?
Okay, so the interview that you saw with John was when I was actually in stay home notice when
Yeah.
I went back home to Singapore. So I was in 2 weeks stay home with my brother.
Mm.
So we managed to set up a mini gym in my house back home, and my strength and conditioning coach back home, he was kind enough to like zoom in with us like every other day, and we just like did like a bunch of like physical workouts. I had some weights at home, which really
Yeah.
helped. And then with John, he wanted to see like how fast I could go back and forward for 1 minute. So that's not actually how fencing looks like, but like yeah. I mean,
Yeah. But those are the kind of trainings that you need to do for fencing, right? The
oh yeah, for
conditioning, the
sure.
physical conditioning and stuff. So it's really tough. You for the short period of time that you are there on while competing, the training that you go through is the same. Like, I was watching a documentary on Usain Bolt. He runs for less than 10 seconds for the competition, and he trains like hell, right? So
Yeah,
it's the same thing. And the training that you go through, it's ridiculous actually, right? Especially for individual sports. And
pretty hard.
were
Yeah,
were your coaches tough on you?
I'd say. I mean, yeah, for the most part, yeah, they were, because they have to be tough on you since you're young. But also when they realize that they've pushed me enough, they definitely take care. They don't push me to this extent where like I get injured or anything.
Mm.
They definitely like take note of like how I'm feeling. If they feel like I'm like they can see I'm physically and like mentally drained, they give me the day off. So they're very caring in that sense. Like they push me when it's time to push me, but also when it's time to have a break, they understand.
I like this mental bit about the fencing, and of course I'm talking to a very pretty matured athlete, talking about strategy and stuff like that. What kind of mental training did you go through? Like, what can a coach do in terms of the mental side of things?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess from the coach, like positive reinforcement is very crucial. I mean, when you like, for example, if I don't do so well in a competition, I guess the advice that they give me after the competition is very important because, it affects how I go into the next competition mentally. But for me, my psychologist has played like a huge role in my success in fencing because they've been the ones that have listened to me like rant or like just talk to them when in times of need and just like they understand why I'm going through it. They talk to several athletes. I'm not the only one that's going through this. They make me feel like sane in a way. Not that
Mm,
I can't talk to my coaches. I just prefer talking to like psychologists. And I've been
right.
working with a few, but mostly two for like the most of my life. And they've been amazing supporters of mine. And I wouldn't be able to like be here without their support for sure.
I like this a lot. The importance of psychology and the psychologist. I think they're very, very important. And I think if we talk about local Singapore sports, I think we are way behind if you're comparing this to Europe and what have you, even in the other parts of Asia. They're way ahead in terms of the mental preparation. And shout out to all the psychologists who've worked with you. Do you have any names, by the way, that you
Yeah,
can?
so Truly was the psychologist I worked with in sports school.
Yeah,
She was my first actual psychologist, and then Tracy.
yeah,
Tracy
yeah.
has been the one that's been working with me ever since I like maybe for like 3-4 years now.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Shout out to you guys. I think you have played an important role in Amita's rise. Let's talk about sacrifices. I think you can't downplay that, because to me, if you want to be up there at the pinnacle of any sport, any discipline, and the craft that you're working at, right? The the sacrifices are pretty big. And tell me about your sacrifices. Little things that in terms of school and going out with friends and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess the first big sacrifice in my life was moving to a totally different country at like a relatively young age. It was a pretty tough time because my dad like just passed away, but then my coach moved to the US. So I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But that definitely like taught me to grow a little bit. My mom moved with me to Boston for about like a month and a
Okay.
half, and then she settled me, and I basically stayed with the host family and had to deal with it alone. I think it's good because it's my first time ever like in a totally different country. The US is super different from Asia and like, Singapore. So
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my gosh, like what is this country? How do I survive? And it took me a while to adapt, but I'm very grateful for this experience because it taught me to like grow in different ways. And I think being put in like a totally different environment, totally different culture, like has also like taught me a different side of things and just like helped me grow as an individual. Um, in terms of like school and everything, I think Notre Dame was definitely like the best choice for me for college wise because I'm able to balance my social life, academic life, and then like sports life in general. Um, yeah, I mean, as an athlete, I feel like all athletes have to make sacrifices sometimes. I think everybody in general has different
Yeah.
sacrifices to make, but I think for me, maybe the most is in terms of like balancing my social life and school. Sometimes I am not able to hang out with all my friends that I want to hang out at the same time. I probably have to hang out like the same group of people because I see them every day and I only have like limited amount of time to study and fence. But I try my best to balance, my social life and everything going on at the same time.
Miss Singapore?
Huh?
You
Yeah, a
miss?
lot.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
haven't been home since August and I probably won't go home till December. So it'll be
So,
over a year till I go back.
what do you miss most? Yeah, apart from family, of course.
The food. The food. God, the taste. The
Yeah.
actual taste in food. Oh my
The
God.
actual, the actual taste in food.
Yeah.
Really?
It's just the spice, like
Yeah.
no spicy level can like ever compare with like food back home. The hawker center chicken rice or the fishball noodles, like everything. I just miss the food so much.
You
Yeah,
see,
that's
that
what.
that's the beauty of just a simple chicken rice, right? In Singapore, when you don't have it, you truly miss that. Uh, just quickly, how was 2020? I think it hit us all, everyone, in terms of the pandemic and stuff. And how did it hit you in terms of the sport itself, training and stuff? Any changes and adaptations that you had to undergo?
Yeah.
Because I heard about you wearing the mask and then everything on together with the
Oh,
mask on. It's terrible, man.
yeah. So at the beginning of last semester in August 2020, we had to like follow university protocols and guidelines, and one of them was whenever we were working out or doing anything, we had to wear our mask. And then when we were able to start fencing again, we weren't allowed to take the mask off, so we had to fence with like the medical mask on top of the mask itself. It's definitely like interesting like I had to adapt like pretty quickly. It was very hard in the beginning, like the first few weeks in terms of like breathing. But I got used to it, and when I fenced at the Olympic qualifiers, I think that definitely was an advantage that I had over like my opponents, because I had been training with a mask for like several months. So being able to not fence with one was like, wow, I had like a new set of lungs in me. So it felt great. I mean, I would rather, you know, like be safe and fence with a mask on top of my fencing mask than like have the
Yeah.
chance of like getting COVID and not being able to fence at all.
Yeah. And just speaking of COVID and stuff, so you stay safe over there. That's the most important thing, you know. Uh, let's talk about you and competitions and stuff like that. In 2017 and the SEA Games, right? You won your first gold in the individual foil event. What was the feeling like?
I mean, it was surreal because 2 years before, I was actually a bag carrier for the SEA Games in Singapore. So I saw all these like amazing athletes walk up the stage, and I was just like dragging their bags, and I was like, damn, like, oh, mind my language, I'm sorry. But like, I was like, I wish that I could like be competing one day. And, you know, the 2 years later, I qualified, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I, you know, started progressing throughout the competition. I saw myself at the podium, and I was like, might as well win it now. And then I won it, and I was like, it felt great. It's one of like the bigger accomplishments that I won in my career, and I think it just like was starting to like give me the confidence I needed to like excel in like future competitions.
Amita, you were a bag carrier in 2015.
Yeah,
Where
I
where
was
was this?
in
Where was it?
Singapore.
Oh, in Singapore. Right.
Yeah, I was a volunteer.
So you volunteered and you carried the fencers bags and of course our local ones, right? Their
Yeah,
bags
the
and stuff.
local, like the international,
Yeah.
whoever's back gave me, I
Ah,
carried.
wow. You know that is a great story, really. You know, and this is just like in football, right? When you start off as a ball boy, right, throwing the balls in, and then after that, polishing their boots and stuff like that, and then going on to become a pro. And you are just like that, absolutely brilliant. And it must be a wonderful feeling, right? It's
It
brilliant.
was an amazing feeling. Yeah, I just ran to my mom and like gave her the biggest hug.
Yeah, nice. And in 2019, it's pretty safe to say that you had a pretty busy year that year and an eventful year as well. Take us through 2019 if you can.
So in 2019, I think I had like it was like the peak of my junior career. So I was trying to maintain, and I mean I was trying to hit being number one in the world. I can't really remember like the list of competitions in a row, but I think I remember like the juniors was definitely my priority, and then like world championships, Asian championships, and then like following like the SEA Games coming up. I mean, each competition that I went to, I try not to think of like the outcome. I think I knew like SEA Games was definitely one of like my bigger competitions in mind. Like after the World Championships was over,
Yeah.
and I just like focus on my training. I try not to think too much about like me winning. 2017, obviously, I wanted to defend my title, and then when I got to SEA Games itself, I was ready from the beginning. I was like, today's my day. I'm gonna win it. I didn't want to do anything other than win the competition. Obviously, it's a nice feeling like being able to defend your title. So
Right.
I'm glad that I was able to. I stayed calm, collected, and won it.
Okay, this is a question. How do you chart your tournaments, right? So let's say for 2019 you have a couple of tournaments. So who charts it? Your coaches sits down with you, and then you plan it out from the.
Yeah. So I sit down with like my coaches, my non like collegiate coach, and
Yeah.
then my collegiate coach and my non-collegiate coach, like they like sit
Right.
down and like they talk about it together, because it's also very hard traveling when I'm in school. So 2019 was definitely a challenging year for me. I also had to fence for Notre Dame
Yeah.
collegiately, so it's like international fencing, like within the US fencing, and then like SEA Games and everything. So I was definitely a busy year in terms of traveling, but I'm happy I managed to like pull through.
Yeah, it's important, isn't it? Like especially the periodization and how when do you peak and stuff like that. It's very important. Like especially with you fencing here, there, and everywhere, and then that this just caught my mind. I was again doing research. You were inspired by Zorro, did you?
When I was younger, yeah, I watched the movie, and then I passed by a fencing club one day, and I was like, "Oh, I guess it's meant to be." I was too young to understand, but I just like playing with.
Was this the one with Antonio Banderas?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Was
Would you mind
was
repeating the
this the one
question?
with Antonio Banderas?
I can't really remember. I can go back and
Okay.
check and let you know. I think it was like a cartoon.
Oh, okay. It's the all right. You were actually world junior number one in 2019. How was that? Like Wow, world number one. World
Yeah,
number one, Amita.
my coach and I at that time worked very closely to trying to be like, in the beginning top 10, and then we moved top 5, and then top 3, and then eventually I became first. So when he like texted me the news that I became first in the world, I was like, wow, I can't believe this. Like, my dream finally came true. I wanted to be like number one in my age category. It's like an amazing feeling. I mean, people normally put pressure on like the top 3 or top 5 at competitions, but I didn't really let that get to me. I kind of just like wanted to enjoy the experience of like being like the best in your age category. And
Yeah.
I think I just like focus on that instead of like, oh my gosh, I'm like world number one. Like people expect me to do well now.
Nice, nice, nice. You talk about the pressure and stuff like that. How do you handle pressure? Like, okay, for example, just before a bout, right? What do you do to relax, if you can relax?
Yeah, so I like music plays a key role in,
Yeah.
in that, like hyping me up and also just like making me calm. Generally before a bout, I just like say a little prayer like under my breath, and that calms me down too. I think everything leads up to like how you prepare like before the competition, and if I feel like I prepared well enough, like yeah, you have like the normal nerves that you have, but once adrenaline kicks in, like it all goes away. So I think like preparation before competition is the most important for me at least.
Music. What kind of music? You talk about music before. What kind of music?
I listen to variety, but I listen to mainly like rap and
Right.
Latin music.
Wow.
And then
Okay.
like for more calm stuff, I listen to like R&B.
Oh, okay. All right.
But
Nice.
yeah.
uh, now, all this while, right, was the Olympics at the back of your mind? Like, from 2015 or 2016, just moving forward, like, was that in your mind? Like, at the back of the mind, always, even while competing, while training?
Yeah, the Olympics has always been like a dream of mine. I think it didn't really hit me until I got to Uzbekistan this year.
Right.
Because I was like, oh my gosh, it's really happening. Like what's going on? I think a key reminder was like, like ever since my dad passed, so basically when he passed, I don't know if this is too much information, but
Nah, it's
when I
good.
said my final goodbye to him, I wrote him a little letter, and then I wrote him like I promised him that I was gonna qualify for Tokyo 2020. And then I like folded it and like put it in his like suit before like they closed like the coffin and stuff. And then I like always remember that like here and there in competitions, sometimes it's always at the back of my mind. So I'm not always thinking about it. And then when I hit Uzbekistan, I was like, this is my one chance to like qualify for Olympics. Like I'm gonna do this for him. Like obviously I'm gonna do this for like everybody that I've lost in my life, but mainly like for my dad, because it's like a promise that him and I like made to each other. So like when I won, it was like an amazing. I couldn't really describe how I was feeling. Like everybody, all the reporters was like, "How are you feeling? How are you feeling?" I was like, I am lost. I have no words right now. I couldn't even believe it. I got back to the hotel, like took a shower and sat at my bed and was like, "What's going on? I can't believe I just qualified for Olympics. Like it was insane." But I know my dad was there with me that day, so yeah, it's a great
Uh,
feeling.
Amita, beautiful story, and I'm sure he was with you on that day, and with you every day, in fact. And congratulations to you. I think that's a brilliant feat, and yeah, he is definitely shining down on you. Now, good sec. Let's talk about Tashkent, Uzbekistan, 2021, and there is also a backstory, right? Because that was the first, the same venue in 2015 with your dad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my dad actually like flew with me for World Championships 5 or 6 years ago, if I'm not wrong. It was my second ever World Championship.
Yeah.
We were there together.
Right.
I think I did a top 16 in that competition, which was pretty good for my age. Yeah, he was there with me. My entire family was there, so it definitely brought back some memories when I got there.
Yeah, it everything goes in a circle, and that's wonderful. Now, take us through the bouts leading to the final, not the final itself, but from how many bouts did you have to get before or win before you get to the final?
So I had to fence five-point bouts and
Yeah,
then two 15-point bouts before reaching the finals.
right. And
So
how?
in total, including the finals, it would have been like 8 matches, which is like relatively like it's not as much as compared to like a huge World Cup, just cause like only one person from each country could go. I think from the beginning of the competition, I was just like, I'm not gonna focus on the outcome again. I'm just gonna focus on my fencing each bout at a time, and that's what I did. And that mentality definitely like, helped me remain calm, because everybody on that day is like only the winner can qualify for Olympics. So I'm sure everybody was worried about the outcome, and so was I. It definitely was at the back of my mind, but there was no point worrying about something I couldn't control in the moment. So I was just trying to like focus on each part at a time, each point at a time.
You said that only the winner gets to qualify for the Olympics. The winner of the whole fall event, for example, that's the event that you're taking part in. those that is a huge stake, right? A huge stakes you are fighting for. It's amazing, and you talk about pressure. That's pressure. That is
Yeah,
pressure, right? Like we're talking about in the
definitely.
sporting sense, that is immense pressure. And the final itself, I think it was a tense final, and you were down 14-13 at one point.
Yeah, yeah.
And did you injure your ankle as well along the way?
Yeah, so I like rolled it, like I sprained my ankle very
Yeah,
like briefly in the semifinals. I think the adrenaline took over, so I didn't really feel it after
yeah,
like a while. And then in the final, my opponent like unintentionally whacked my ankle, and that
right.
was when it hurt a little bit. And I
Yeah.
was leading 13-10 at that point, so
You
I was
sure it
like
was
kind of
unintentional?
I'm just gonna say it's unintentional. I don't know. I don't want to like
No,
point
I'm just
fingers
kidding.
at my
Yeah,
opponent. But yeah, and then I kind of fell on the floor, and I was like, I'm gonna like get up because like you don't want her to ruin your momentum because I was in
yeah.
the lead by 3 points, and then but I really couldn't stand up. I was in too much pain, and then I was like adrenaline took over again. I was like, come on, like just gotta stand. I'm just gotta do this like 2 more touches to win, like like pull up your socks, like just keep going, and that's what I did. And
Wow.
yeah, my physiotherapist, shout out to Megan, was amazing, super
Yeah.
patient and super kind with me. She like wrapped my ankle up after the competition, took really good care of me. So appreciate it.
You said this, right? I said this at the beginning of the show. I'd do anything to win, even break an ankle. Exactly.
I
That is
didn't
a
mean it literally, but I
nah.
guess
I think that is like literal in its sense, right? It was
yeah.
amazing, right? And that was not breaking an ankle. It was a rolled or sprained ankle. So you eventually did it. And what was the feeling like? Like after that you've done it, you've won the bout. Then I can't imagine the feeling really.
I till today I still can't really describe it other than saying like I just in that moment was just so thankful. I was just like, thank you God, like thank you to my dad, like whoever was there with me, thank you to all the supporters because I had the entire venue cheering for me. Like everybody knew like the odds were against me and I was obviously not the favorite. I was just like I don't know how I did it, but I'm just thankful that I did. And it was a great feeling. I just
Yeah.
kind of just hugged my coach a little bit and he was like, all your hard work has paid off. Like I'm so proud of you, and it's a feeling I can't really describe. I
Right.
replay it over and over again in my head. I just am like lost for words when I think of the scenario.
I understand, and I think must have vindicated all the hard work and sacrifices that you have put in. Over the years. It's not a 1 day or 1 year thing. It has been, from what 6-year-old or when you're 7-year-old, and it's all accumulated and it's happened, like that. And it's amazing. It's an amazing story. So congratulations again. I think you truly deserve it. And again, let's hope that if Japan does happen, it happens safely. I think that's the most important thing. I think that nothing else can matter, right? But if it
Yeah,
doesn't, then it still doesn't take away the fact that you have qualified for the Olympics officially, right? So again, that's brilliant. And of course, after that, right, I think another one of your teammates qualified as well, right? I
yeah.
think.
Shira qualified.
Yeah,
Amazing. She
yeah. So
fenced
so
really well.
so
I
that's
couldn't
that.
catch it because I was on the flight, but when I landed and I saw the
Ah,
news, I was like, oh my god, this is crazy for Singapore.
exactly. And tried getting her, and she's busy, so she might be the next one on the episode as well. So congratulations to you both. Now before we go and wrap up, I know it's like what is it now, almost 10 there. You need to get your beauty sleep, or you need to go to study, I don't know,
No,
right?
you're fine.
uh let's get up close and personal. I want to ask you on your a little some of your personal thoughts, and you can answer me quickly if you want to. It doesn't matter. But it's some are easy, some are you need to think. But I know you like to think, so right. Number one, what's your favorite food?
Oh, chicken rice, hands down.
Uh, Chicken is your thing, is it?
No, just Singaporean chicken rice. This is my thing.
Okay, right.
Okay.
Your favorite actor?
Oh, I don't really have one. I mean,
No.
probably like Angelina Jolie or Brad Pitt. It's kind of basic, but I can't
Okay.
really think right now.
Favorite music artist?
Drake.
Drake. That's easy, right? Most influential persons in your life, the people that have influenced you throughout. It can be sports, can be anything.
My mom, for sure. My coaches, all of them, everybody that's played a part in my life, and my siblings, my dad, everybody, my entire family
Right.
and support system back home. There's not one specific person, but definitely like my mom, she's had my back since day
Nice.
one.
Mom, shout out to you. Now, this could be a little bit difficult. It could be a little bit unfair, but if you have to choose one, right? The best coach that you worked under.
Whew. Wow,
I
this is a
told you.
really tricky
I told
question.
you.
All my coaches have played a really crucial role in my life. Like, I'm seriously, I
Yeah.
really mean this from the bottom of my heart. In terms of like the beginning of my career, like Coach James from Z Fencing, Ralph Bisdorf, he played an immense, like he was the coach that was there with me when I became number one in the world. And then right now my current, and Coach Joseph also back in Z Fencing, and Coach Amgad. So I work with several coaches. It's very hard to pick one.
Right.
All of them really, I can't
Yeah.
really pick one. All of them have played an immense role in my journey.
Nice.
Yeah.
Biggest biggest disappointment so far, at least.
Oh, I guess my final junior world championship, because I didn't know COVID was gonna happen, so I wouldn't have the opportunity to like fence again. I didn't really achieve the result that I wanted to achieve. So I guess that was like, I think it was, if I'm not wrong, 2018 junior worlds.
Okay.
Probably one of the bigger ones.
Your biggest achievement besides the Olympics qualification, other than qualifying?
Probably becoming number one in the world, or winning both SEA Games back to back in a row.
Nice. What's your motto in life and training?
Just to like never give up, to push through, and whenever I face an obstacle my way, to just know that I'm able to get over it as long as I keep my head in the game and focus on the end goal at mind.
Nice. Now, the person you want to meet most, but you haven't met this person yet. Who do you want to meet?
Definitely Michael Phelps.
Ah, why?
I really look up to him as a sports person in general. Like, I really admire everything that he's been through and faced, and still being the most like most achieved athlete in the entire Olympics. Like, despite going through all the mental health issues and everything that he's gone through in his life, really look up to him and would love to meet him someday.
Nice. Okay, last one. Something that people don't already know about you.
Oh my gosh.
So after this, right, everybody will know that about you.
Wow, this is a very personal question. I need to this is a fun fact, but I'm just a terrible cook. Yeah? I don't know if this is interesting, but like I really cannot cook.
You can't cook at all?
I try sometimes. I try. I can make like basic pasta, but I'm getting better.
Okay. Yeah. That's something on your bucket list, right? Learn how to cook.
Definitely. My mom has tried. I've just failed miserably.
Wow, okay. Now you're defending your mom.
Yeah, I am.
All right. Now, where does Amita Berthier go from here? And your plans, your goals, probably in the next 5 years. You don't want to like set it out too far ahead, right? But
yeah.
Yeah.
Short-term goal, I definitely am working towards the Olympics in July, and then after that, like focusing on my seasons. I'm definitely trying to long-term goal for the Asian Games, if I'm not wrong, coming up next year, and then to try to qualify for 2 more Olympics.
Yeah.
Hopefully in my career, so up to 2028.
Yeah, I think that's still very, very possible. You know, looking at your age as well, right? Is there like I don't know about this, right? Is there like a peak age in fencing? Like, was there any?
Yeah, normally the peak age is like in your later 20s, or like closer to like mid or like later 20s.
Right.
But like a lot of the Italian fencers and the best fencers in the world are like they're solid like 30s or like late 20s. So yeah.
Right. Nice. Well, Amita, any advice for budding fencers or any young sportswoman out there who wants to shine like you?
Yeah. Well, like my parents from such a young age have always told me to dream, to visualize what you want, to hold on to, and to take ownership of that dream. So like I guess my advice would to be like to never let anybody tell you that your dream is impossible. You just need to like own it, love it, and remain positive even when you fall or don't achieve what you set your mind to do. The answers will always come to you, and reach out for help if you ever need it, you know. That'll be my advice.
Amita Berthier, thank you so much for being on the latest episode of the SilverFox Hustle podcast. You have been an inspiration not only to the listeners, I'm sure, and to me myself, right? And for someone who's young as you, you've been so matured in the way you think towards obviously the sport, the craft that you are in, and you have been absolutely amazing. And to many many more good years of fencing, and I think you will have that, looking at your spirit, the way you do things, and keep on hustling. I think that's my message to you, because this is the Silver Fox Hustle podcast, and keep on hustling, Amita.
Thank you for inviting me on your podcast. Pleasure
uh,
meeting you.
and don't forget to share this with your friends, your family, your mom as well,
I
and
will,
and
for
and
sure.
the people in your fencing community. This has been the latest episode of the Silver Fox Hustle podcast. Now, at the end of the podcast, after listening to this, click on the follow, subscribe button, and also leave a review if you want to, leave a comment. And we're out on YouTube as well, and search and subscribe to that as well. Now, till the next episode, the hustle beats talent when talent doesn't hustle. Cheers.